Let me say it this way, the new AirPods Pro 2 is the best true wireless earbuds you can get on the planet. It's better than the Sony WF-1000XM4 Bose. Whoa, Kenneth, wait, what happened to you? Edifier Soundcore Redmi Huawei Red. Anyway, that was a huge claim, but in this case, it's real. What we have here is such a polished product that sets the bar for a premium true wireless experience for years to come. But don't just take my word for it. We're going to talk one by one about everything that matters. I'll make lots of comparisons to give you a better idea, and so we've got tons to talk about here. Let's get started right now. Selamat pagi! Good morning everyone, Kenneth here and welcome to my review of the AirPods Pro 2. Super happy I got to try these early thanks to my recent trip to Singapore, but if you know me, I rarely am the first when it comes to these reviews since I wanted to test everything, determine what's really special, and tell you the most important things. So if you appreciate the effort and you're interested in tech and audio, you're more than welcome to subscribe as we have tons of cool stuff coming up. And I won't waste your time because we're gonna get started with one of the main pillars, the most important one personally for me, the sound quality. To be honest with you, the first gen AirPods Pro, which is in my group case here, is a far cry from the best sound quality title. For me, its selling point is convenience. And in case you missed it, the problem is because there's not enough upper mid, which causes the vocals to sound rather muffled. This has bothered me since day one. Later though, I found a fix in a very deep accessibility audio setting called headphone accommodations, but still, it became just alright. Enter the AirPods Pro 2. This thing fixed exactly what's lacking in the first gen and then some. So firstly, vocals sound like they're finally free now. Male and female vocals just sound natural and full-bodied. And not only that, everything is more detailed. The sound stage is wider and it's more dynamic too, delivering thumpier bass without bleeding and covering the other frequencies. Like it just reaches lower to the sub-bass region. Moreover, it does all that while still keeping the OG sound signature that I'd say is about mid-focus, so vocals are always front and center, being the star of a show. It's important to know that mid-focus sound doesn't give the most mind-blowing first impression, but the more you listen to it, the more you appreciate how everything is just balance. You can hear each and every instrument clearly without cymbals being too harsh or bass being too boomy. Especially on the AirPods Pro 2, it finally perfected the sound signature that sounded lackluster on the OG AirPods Pro. Now, to give you a better idea of how it sounds, let's compare some of my review songs to the Sony XM4s, even the Moondrop Aria, because last time I said the Sony is close to matching this wired IEM. Okay, Kenneth from the future here, I forgot to record this part, so let's start with this rock song I absolutely love from One OK Rock called Heartache. From the start, you can hear that the AirPods Pro 2 lets out the full range of the male singer, whereas on the original AirPods, it felt like it doesn't have enough clarity there. And not only that, you can also hear the drums, especially the snare hits, has more texture to them, and also all the subtle hi-hats are more easily noticeable on the AirPods Pro 2. But let's skip to the good part at around 2 minutes 55 seconds and bring the Sony XM4s to the comparison. To my surprise, the Sony's default EQ sounds quite nice with this song. The vocals are nice and defined, every drum kick and bass notes has nice power to them, and what's most interesting is the AirPods Pro 2 actually sounded quite similar, but better in my opinion. So how it is exactly better? Well, it's like with the Sony, with or without EQ, it feels like the vocals doesn't sound as full-bodied and not placed as prominent in the front stage as much as the AirPods Pro 2. And while the instrument separation, detail retrieval, everything is equally good on both of these, the AirPods 2 bring them together in a more cohesive way. So the projection and the location of each instrument feel more natural here, whereas on the Sony, it feels like they're coming from, well, a pair of stereo earbuds. But please, please, please keep in mind that in the bigger picture, both the AirPods Pro 2 and the Sony XM4s sounds just as amazing. And the point actually goes to Sony in terms of flexibility, because in the app, you can set up to 2 custom EQs, whereas on the AirPods, you're stuck with a default EQ, or you have the cumbersome headphone accommodations workaround. Even that, you don't have much control. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to your preference. For me, I found the AirPods Pro 2 to sound just great by default, whereas the Sony need a little bit of tuning to suit my taste. Finally, I want to touch briefly on Dolby Atmos tracks, and this time we're bringing the Moondrop aria in, listening to Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. First of all, the AirPods Pro 2 improves upon the OG in a big way, presenting the vocals much clearer with more definition to everything from the subtlest cymbal hits to the screeching sound of guitar solos. I think you know that already, but the sound staging is also much wider, and positioning of the a cappella, for example, is much more precise too. It really brought the AirPods Pro from a meh sounding earbuds to become one of the best true wireless earbuds out there. Now, I know the Moondrop Aria only costs $80, but the closest thing I've discovered to match this excellent IEM is the Sony XM4s before. And now we have another one from the wireless world that can match the detail and instrument separation of a wired IEM. But if the Sony is almost as good as the Aria, then the AirPods Pro 2 is about as good as the Aria, but with a different tuning. I'm saying this because of mainly the cohesiveness of how everything blends together that I said before. Although still there's no matching Moondrop sound signature that makes the soundstage even more spacious. So yeah, we still have a long way to go to matching any wired IEMs. Okay, lastly, volume-wise, there's no change from the previous version. The Sony is about 1 click louder, but it's plenty loud, and personally, I never need to max it out. In an indoor setting like this, I mostly listen at 60-70% max, and because the ANC is so good, you can actually listen at lower volume levels more comfortably, but we'll get to that in a minute. So I just want to quickly remind you to hit the thumbs up if the video is useful so far. Affiliate links are down below, which you can click to buy anything. I'll get a small commission at no extra cost to you, and you'll help me keep the contents going. So thank you very much, and let's continue with the next pillar, the experience. This is a very big one because we'll talk about ANC, transparency, controls, connectivity, and finally move on to the next pillar, build quality and battery life. So kicking off with the most important thing, let's talk about active noise cancellation. And this is gonna get very in-depth, but the TLDR is I'm extremely impressed at how strong and adaptive the ANC is. If I can simplify things a great deal, the AirPods Pro 2 achieves Sony XM4 level of noise cancellation without the use of memory foam tips. But of course, the story goes deeper than that. So both has their own plus and minuses here. On the Sony side, the ANC itself is actually just alright, but because Sony requires you to use these foam tips, the passive noise cancellation sharply improves, and so the whole noise cancelling experience is much better. But this comes at a price of discomfort, and not to forget, the foam tips break over time too. On the Apple side, the new AirPods Pro 2 still uses the same design, same exact silicone tips, but instead improves on the ANC system. Apple optimized the drivers, the H2 chip, the algorithm itself to block more noise, and it continuously listens to ensure that you're getting the best possible noise cancellation. This last part is really cool. So let's say you raise your eyebrows, grin, or just adjusting the fit, there might be a small gap where noise would come in. You can hear that. The earbuds can hear that too. Immediately after it detects this unwanted noise, the algorithm is tweaked to compensate, and the noise would fade away once again. This blows my mind the first time, and until now, I'm still amazed every time it kicks in. I can't say about the Sennheisers or Bose because I haven't tried those. It rhymes, but it definitely is not present on the first gen AirPods Pro or the Sony XM4s, or any other ANC buds I've tested to date. Anyway, I was super excited to test these out on my flight back to Indonesia. And here's what I found. Starting with the AirPods Pro 1st Gen. This, until today, is still a great ANC earbuds. The cheaper brands are still catching up to it. But compared to the rest that we have here, it's just a no contest. So while most low and mid frequency of the plane engine noise is cancelled, I can still hear a constant humming left on the upper mid frequency, and that extends to the treble. So things like announcements or people talking, you're going to notice them the most here. Compared to the Sony XM4s, if the 1st Gen AirPods Pro has that upper mid engine noise, the Sonys have it on the lower mid region. Why? That's because the ANC system takes care of the lower frequency, while the phone tips seal so tightly it blocks out the higher frequencies so much. All that's left is this lower mid noise where the points hit basically. So like I said, the ANC isn't very impressive, but the foam tips are so important, making the Sonys block the most high frequency noise. So announcements, people talking, music playing, that feels the most cancelled out here, and it creates a sense of better ANC. But actually, if we strictly compare the ANC system, the AirPods Pro 2 is better. So literally all low to mid frequency engine noise is just gone. And it doesn't only apply to engine noise, it applies to anything. If you use it in a shopping mall or anywhere on the street, it blocks low to mid frequency like the most I've ever heard to date. But coming back to the plane, there's no leftover noise like it is on the other two earbuds. Maybe just a tiny bit of higher pitched engine noise, but that's about it. Also, on the same upper frequency range, the trebles of people talking and stuff, because we still use these silicone tips, they won't block as good as the foam tips, but it's still reduced better than the 1st Gen. So the ANC is doing some work there. And I think what's most important to me personally is silicone tips are much more comfortable to wear, and they will last longer too. Now there's one thing that is left untouched from the previous gen, and that's the lack of wind noise reduction. So if you walk through a passage with a lot of wind blowing at you, then neither the OG or the new AirPods Pro 2 will cancel the wind noise. You'll hear a little bit of wind sound in both ANC and transparency mode, but if you ask me, is it annoying? Well, if this happens only occasionally, then the answer is no, because the wind noise doesn't really distract all that much. It comes pretty naturally. But if this happens daily, then the Sony might be the better choice. This thing has an auto wind noise reduction mode that after a couple seconds of wind noise is detected, the earbuds automatically lowers the ANC by about 30%, but completely eliminates the wind noise. The catch is this system uses up more battery, so only use it if you find these wind noise annoying. Otherwise, let's move on to transparency mode, and I'm happy to report that the new AirPods Pro 2 is just as natural and open as the 1st Gen. This takes the crown as the best transparency mode on the market. Sony's not even on the equation. The only thing that comes close is the one more ComfoBuds Pro. This time though, I was a little bit worried because Apple introduced a new adaptive transparency mode, which basically listens to your surroundings and in real time reduces the intensity of extremely loud noises like construction works, car horns, and stuff like that. And so I thought, okay, the transparency mode might sound processed now, but no, it still feels like you're wearing nothing. A lot of the time, I completely forgot that I wear these earbuds, and so I would just go about my day without the case, so I didn't have any place to put this in, so I just kept it on all the time. I think a lot of those is because of the venting system that, when you activate transparency mode, the pressure is released, the in-ear suction pressure, and that doesn't happen on any other earbuds. So while the microphone might be good on the One More, the pressure is kind of still there. So that's one thing that the other brands have to still catch up on. And this is still second to none. Okay, now moving on to the controls. Who would have thought that a first-party product can actually have a perfect control scheme? But it's real. The addition of swipe up and down to control volume is just genius. The sensitivity is spot on. Press controls are as satisfying as always with the audible click feedback, and most importantly, you have everything in control on each individual earbud. So no matter if you use 1 or 2 earbuds, you can play, pause, skip tracks, control volume, switch ANC transparency, and call out Siri. That's literally everything. This is a strong plus point in my book compared to the Sony XM4s that is full of compromise. For example, I settled with track control on the right side and ANC transparency on the left side. But what happens if I only use the left side? Well, I cannot go to the next song, which is just baffling. How can they not think about it? When I use only one, change it to track control. I know, for example, I can add volume control on the left side and turn on auto speech detection so the transparency mode and ANC will just trigger automatically. But honestly speaking, I only found this system annoying. And again, if I use only the left side, now I can only control volume and not skip tracks. Finally, I want to talk about the wear detection system and the behavior around it and tell you why, for me, this is the gold standard. So these uses not only capacitive touch sensors, but also optical proximity sensors, and the placement has been tweaked a little bit, making it the only visible change compared to the previous AirPods Pro, but it works just the same. So if you have both earbuds on ANC, you take one earbud out, the other side will automatically switch to transparency. And of course, music will be paused, so you're just ready to talk. Then, right after you put the earbuds back in, the ANC will fade back, music starts again, and you can just get on with your life. You can also switch between ANC and transparency mode while on phone calls, something that's surprisingly absent on most budget ANC earbuds. Most of them just turn off the circuitry entirely. Now moving on to connectivity, Apple's AirPods has always stood out from the pack since day one because it uses Class 1 Bluetooth, which means the signal is stronger than your typical 10-meter Class 2 devices. And up until today, still very few out there uses the same tech, yet it is a big reason why connection on Apple earbuds is always more reliable compared to your usual Bluetooth devices. And it's Bluetooth, it's universal, it doesn't lock you out to just Apple devices, even if you use Android or Windows PC or just Google Chromebook, it's, just as strong. And speaking of which, using on these other than Apple products, it's completely fine too. I actually recommend the AirPods Pro 2 now because all you have to do to switch devices is to tap connect on the device you want. The earbuds will just disconnect automatically from the first device and connect to the second one. And this is true for Sony or Samsung Galaxy earbuds as well. So I'm not complaining for the lack of multi-point connection, but of course, if you own multiple Apple devices, these will just literally switch automatically from one to another. But you know that already. Okay, there's one more hot topic to tackle here, and that is codecs. Honestly, I don't like talking about it since even high-res ones like LDAC, LHDC, or aptX Adaptive brings close to negligible difference in sound quality, but a huge impact in battery life. That's one reason why the Sony XM4s are so big, because it needs to have a huge battery to have a decent playtime with LDAC and ANC turned on. Otherwise, any other normal size earbuds with LDAC support would have its playtime completely destroyed to only 2 to 3 hours instead of 4 to 5 hours. So my point is, while the AirPods only support ASPC and ASC, that's plenty enough no matter what device you use. Just what's more important is always going to be the driver quality and sound tuning. Now, very briefly, I want to touch on Apple's keynote, which shows 48 kHz audio support via SharePlay. Unfortunately, there's no official documentation for this, and the only thing I could find is from Sound and Vision Review, which states that it's only used when you connect it to an Apple TV. I think there's a reason for this, which is, well, it's just specs on paper. In real life, we're still dealing with the limitations of Bluetooth, and there's no new codec in play here. I doubt the AirPods Pro 2 supports LC3 codec despite having Bluetooth 5.3, so don't worry too much about these numbers. Okay, moving on, we're talking about another one of the important pillars here, and that is build quality. So this is a design that has been around for quite some time. I'm sure everyone's already familiar with it. Fit-wise, these could stay in my ear for the entire day without worry. Just on some rare occasions, it could hurt in about an hour if I angled it incorrectly. But that only happens for some reason on the AirPods Pro, not here, even though they are exactly the same design. But the point is, if the AirPods Pro fits you well, then this will not be a problem too. One nice thing about Apple products is because they're so popular, there are a plethora of case choices out there, although most of them are still the first gen ones without microphone holes. So right now, I'm still using it naked, just with a lanyard attachment. And of course, everything is very well built. The hinge is made of metal. It's spring loaded too, so it won't close even if you put it on a table. And there's your usual battery indicator in front, pairing button on the back. It still uses Lightning port for charging, unfortunately, but I pretty much never use it, especially now that it has magnets for MagSafe or Apple Watch charging. I absolutely love it since it sits perfectly in my Apple Watch charging dock, and for the record, any Qi charger will work fine too. It's also important to know that the case is now IPX4 sweat resistant, along with the earbuds. So everything will probably survive a cycle in a washing machine because life happens. And also one more feature I hugely appreciate is the fact that every part of the AirPods Pro 2 is findable. Both left and right earbuds are detectable with Bluetooth proximity, and now the case has U1 chip for your iPhone to precisely point to where the case is, but this feature depends on your government, whether they allow ultra-wideband usage or not, which is sadly not in my country. But you also have the option to play a sound from the case. Yep, this case has a freaking speaker. This is such a godsend. I lose stuff all the time, and being able to play a sound and find the case or the earbuds when they're somewhere in the blanket slipped in between the sofa, I can find them in a matter of seconds. And not only that, these speakers play a sound to let you know that pairing is successful or when charging has started, which is especially useful to confirm wireless charging. It's just so good. I want it on all of my true wireless earbuds now. Battery life wise, the earbuds has improved playtime of 6 hours, up from 4.5 hours with ANC and transparency. If you use spatial audio with head tracking, that'll drop to 5.5 hours because it tracks all the time with the gyroscope. But honestly, I recommend to use fixed mode instead. And all in all, this is a nice number. 5 minutes inside the case will give you 1 hour of playtime, and you have around 4 more charges in the case. So depending on your use, you might charge this every weekend or every 4 days. But of course, you can check the battery level of both earbuds and the case simply by opening the lid and holding it close to your iPhone. And it has smart battery saving feature too that learns from your habit and limits charging to 80% when you don't use it to preserve battery life. Okay, we're almost finished now, but still we have meaningful improvements on the microphones, which is especially needed since there are a lot of earbuds that outperformed the previous AirPods Pro here. But let me tell you, not the Sony, because the microphone sucks here. But yeah, let's check out the test now and we'll talk after.
At a very good price too. Goedendag, we're DHRME, Dual Heretics reviewing my earphones. Alright, we're in an embargo period with one more, and we cannot do a review of these earbuds. So this is a first impressions video, DHRME style.
Okay, welcome to the microphone test, everyone. This is the AirPods Pro 2 that we're using right now. So what do you think of the sound quality? We're in quite not so busy road, but they're still very, very noisy for your typical earbuds use. But yeah, I think this should give you a good idea of how it will perform in like real life usage. And by the way, I'm so sorry I forgot to take off my mask, but it shouldn't affect my voice that much. So I'm just gonna keep talking just a little bit more to give you a good idea. See, a lot of motorcycles just pass right beside me then. So does it, capture my voice clearly? Does it cancel all those noise very nicely? And let's compare it to the benchmark of the test. All right, so right now we are on a second generation AirPods, not the Pro version. And this is practically the benchmark of the test because, a lot of people haven't been around for a while. So yeah, this is kind of like the comparison point. So you have a good idea of how, all these other earbuds that I'm testing performs. So yeah, this is how it sounds. What do you think? Um, yeah, that's pretty much it for the microphone test. Let's go back upstairs and we'll finish the video. So there you have it. The AirPods Pro 2 improves upon sound quality, battery life, the experience in general, the microphone, and all of which are very fundamental pillars of what makes a great earbuds. And it doesn't stop there. I hugely appreciate the added speakers, water resistance on the case, the volume slider is just simply perfect, and tons of other things which shapes it to become one of the best true wireless earbuds you can buy for years to come. And you bet other companies are gonna start copying these features. Anyway, thank you so much for watching all the way. I really hope it was useful or at the very least entertaining. Let me know your questions down below. I'll try to reply as much as I can. Follow me on social media, use the affiliate links to help me keep doing these reviews. And once again, thank you all for the support you've given throughout the years. I'm Kenneth, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.